Imagine, for a moment, that the story you've been told for years, repeated in headlines, whispered at palace gates, and splashed across glossy magazines, suddenly unravels. What if the most talked about royal birth in recent memory wasn't what it seemed? What if the carefully orchestrated tale of Prince Archie's arrival hid a secret so explosive that even palace walls couldn't contain it forever? But before we continue, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more updates. That's the reality now engulfing Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, as newly leaked hospital notes claim something startling. Prince Archie was not born naturally by Meghan herself, but delivered through a surrogate under a strict NDA. The whispers that once danced around internet forums and royal gossip blogs have just roared into a deafening chorus. And Meghan, insiders say, has been left in tears as this confidential revelation edges closer to becoming a permanent stain on her royal narrative. But how did we get here? Let's peel back the royal curtain, layer by layer, and explore why this detail matters. Not just to Meghan and Harry, but to the future of the monarchy itself. The carefully scripted fairy tale. From the beginning, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's relationship felt like something out of a Hollywood script. The American actress who had made it on her own, marrying into one of the world's oldest royal families, seemed like a refreshing, modern twist on tradition. When Meghan became pregnant with Archie, the public was primed for another royal baby spectacle. Remember the wall-to-wall coverage of Princess Diana giving birth to William and Harry? Or Kate Middleton's polished hospital steps debuts with Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis? The tradition of showing the new heir to the world hours after birth is deeply ingrained in royal PR playbooks. But Meghan and Harry chose a different route. There were no hospital steps photos, no eager crowd outside London's Lindo wing, and no public display of the exhausted but glowing royal mother. Instead, Meghan and Harry issued carefully crafted statements and photos that appeared curated rather than candid. At the time, the couple's decision was explained away as a bid for privacy. But now, with these leaked hospital notes suggesting a surrogacy arrangement, many are asking, was this privacy, or was it secrecy? A leaked file that changed everything. The alleged hospital notes, reportedly stamped confidential, suggest that Archie was born via surrogate under strict conditions. The surrogate, according to the leaks, signed a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, so ironclad that breaking it could result in ruinous financial penalties. Sources close to the situation say Meghan has been shaken to the core by the revelation. She knew whispers existed, one insider claims, but never expected actual documentation to surface. When she heard about the leaked notes, she broke down. And here's the kicker. The notes don't just mention surrogacy. They also indicate that the arrangement was managed with palace awareness, but buried under layers of legal paperwork. Could it be that Meghan and Harry weren't acting alone? Was Buckingham Palace aware and complicit in shielding this truth from the public? So why surrogacy matters in royal circles? At first glance, you might wonder, why is surrogacy such a scandal? After all, in 2025, many families around the world celebrate surrogacy as a modern, life-giving option. Celebrities from Kim Kardashian to Elton John have proudly embraced it. But in the British monarchy, appearances are everything. Bloodlines, succession, and the optics of royal tradition hold enormous symbolic weight. If Archie was not born of Meghan's body, some purists may argue it muddies the royal lineage, even if genetically, he's still Harry's son. In royal history, even the hint of impropriety around births or legitimacy has caused uproar. Centuries ago, questions of paternity sparked wars, abdications, and political upheaval. Fast forward to today, and while Britain won't see battles in the streets, the monarchy's fragile reputation could still take a severe hit. Is it really the fact of surrogacy that causes alarm, or is it the secrecy surrounding it? By hiding the truth, Meghan and Harry may have set themselves up for a far worse backlash than if they had simply been open. Meghan's tears, a human side to the drama. Let's step away from palace politics for a moment. Behind the drama, the headlines and the hashtags, there's Meghan herself. A woman, a mother, and a public figure who has often borne the brunt of relentless media scrutiny. When the news of the leaked notes hit, those close to her describe her as distraught. She's terrified about what this will mean for Archie as he grows older, a friend reportedly confided. She doesn't want him to be defined by the circumstances of his birth. It's a poignant reminder. For Meghan, this isn't just a royal scandal. It's a deeply personal family matter. How would any mother feel if private medical details about their child's birth were blasted across the world? And yet, critics argue that Meghan herself fed the cycle of secrecy by curating the narrative so tightly. If she had trusted the public with the truth, would it have been received with compassion rather than suspicion? The timeline that doesn't add up. Those who suspected something unusual about Archie's birth often point to a timeline mismatch. Meghan's pregnancy announcements, the way she carried her baby bump, and the sudden secrecy around delivery all struck some as inconsistent. For example, Meghan announced her pregnancy in October 2018, yet her bump appeared unusually variable in size throughout appearances. Conspiracy forums exploded with comparisons of folding bumps and odd silhouettes. On the day of Archie's birth announcement, Harry appeared jubilant but oddly vague in describing the details, unlike the carefully rehearsed speeches of royal fathers before him. Meghan's post-birth photo shoot seemed more like a staged portrait session than the raw, immediate joy scene with William and Kate. At the time, critics were dismissed as conspiracy theorists. Now, in light of these notes, many are revisiting those anomalies with fresh eyes. Could it be that the odd details were actually clues hidden in plain sight? The palace's dilemma: silence or spin? The royal institution thrives on tradition, but it also depends heavily on narrative control. When damaging stories threaten the crown, palace officials often face a dilemma: admit the truth and risk immediate scandal, or bury it and hope it never resurfaces. With Meghan and Harry's increasingly rocky relationship with the monarchy, this alleged surrogacy file presents a nightmare scenario. If the palace knew, critics will accuse them of deception. If they didn't know, it raises questions about just how much control Meghan and Harry had over their royal roles at the time. Either way, silence may no longer be an option. Spin, however, is almost guaranteed. Expect carefully worded statements, denials, or perhaps attempts to frame this as an attack on Meghan rather than a revelation of fact. What this means for Archie. Lost in all the drama is the child at the center of it. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. Still young, he's unlikely to fully grasp the storm brewing around him. But as he grows, this detail could shape not only how he views his family, but also how the world perceives him. Royal watchers speculate. Could this revelation affect Archie's titles, inheritance, or even his place in the line of succession? Legally, probably not. But socially and symbolically, the monarchy thrives on perception, and perception is fragile. Will Archie grow up in the shadow of whispers that he was the surrogate prince? Or will his generation view this as irrelevant in a modern world where families come in many forms? What's next? Every royal scandal follows a cycle. Revelation, denial, frenzy, and eventually, either quiet acceptance or permanent damage. This one, however, feels different. The question is no longer whether people believe Meghan gave birth to Archie. It's whether the monarchy can withstand yet another blow to its credibility. For Meghan, the stakes are deeply personal. For Harry, they're both personal and political. For the crown, they could be existential. And for us, the public, the story is far from over. From the moment Meghan Markle's pregnancy became public, murmurs began to swirl. At first, they were the kind of idle whispers you'd expect when a celebrity announces baby news. But as Meghan's journey unfolded, the chatter didn't fade. It grew louder. Why? Because nothing about Archie's birth fit the royal script. There was no ceremonial hospital appearance. There were no beaming doctors addressing the press. There was, instead, an air of secrecy that only fans speculation. The public, especially in Britain, thrives on tradition. When the tradition is broken, questions naturally follow. And when those questions go unanswered, the void is quickly filled with rumors. Was Meghan's pregnancy real? Was a surrogate involved? Was the royal family covering up a medical issue? Or something even bigger? These weren't just late-night internet debates. They began creeping into mainstream outlets, prompting denials, rebuttals, and carefully controlled palace messaging. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Rumors rarely persist this long unless there's at least a shadow of something beneath them. The Bumpgate controversy. Let's talk about one of the most bizarre royal subplots of the decade, Bumpgate. Back in 2019, eagle-eyed fans began pointing out strange inconsistencies in Meghan's baby bump during public appearances. Some swore it looked too small one day and too large the next. Others dissected videos where Meghan's belly appeared to fold unnaturally as she bent down. Now, were some of these claims over the top? Absolutely. Internet sleuths can sometimes transform shadows into monsters. But when the leaked hospital file surfaced confirming surrogacy, many of those crazy theories suddenly didn't seem so crazy anymore. The so-called folding bump might not have been a medical mystery at all, but a prosthetic belly used to maintain the illusion of pregnancy while the surrogate carried Archie. And if that's true, then the palace wasn't just protecting Meghan's privacy. They were actively staging a performance. Meghan versus Diana, two mothers, two stories. It's impossible to discuss Meghan without mentioning Princess Diana. The comparisons are endless and often unfair, but in this case the contrast is striking. Diana, for all her struggles, was hyper-visible as a mother. She was photographed giving birth, photographed leaving the hospital, and even photographed hugging William and Harry in moments of raw humanity that redefined royal motherhood. Meghan, on the other hand, appeared determined to flip that script. She rejected the hospital steps moment. She shielded Archie fiercely. She and Harry seemed almost defiant about doing things their way. But here's the irony. Diana's transparency won her the public's love. Meghan's secrecy has invited suspicion. Could it be that, in trying to protect her child, Meghan unintentionally damaged both her image and Archie's legacy? Humor amid the drama. Let's pause for a lighter moment. Imagine being the palace staffer tasked with managing Meghan's baby bump optics. Your Grace, we've scheduled the prosthetic adjustment at 3 p.m. Please don't bend down too quickly during the photo op, or it might fold. It sounds absurd, like a plotline from a Netflix comedy. And yet, here we are, analyzing leaked hospital notes that suggest it might not have been far from reality. Royal watchers joke that Netflix should spin this into a behind-the-scenes docuseries called The Inflatable Heir. Wouldn't you binge-watch that? Humor aside, the fact that people can even make such jokes shows how bad